Hi there. The next thing would be the when it will be done. That specific action when we are going to trying to do it. So it's very time specific what we are trying to talk here, and it should be more. It is in fact is very critical. If we don't try to do it in that specific time, it's gonna impact us a lot. So let's understand when it will be done. You need to understand the question when it will be done doesn't apply to the entire thing you're processing it. It's just for the that specific task specific or that action when you're gonna try to do it. It's not that you're gonna complete an entire project or entire processing. So you need to differentiate that. Once you differentiate that, you need to determine when your action, when you're trying to perform that specific action or specific step to complete that project task. So you need to think in that way. So decide on the both date and the time frame, and then you can think about uh, a specific date and time instead of thinking like I'm going to complete this next Monday morning like 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. Instead of that, you need to go for a specific date and time so that you are actually budgeting the proper timelines for that specific thing. So there are a few thumb rules which I wanted to explain here. As we talked about, we need to talk about more specific to the timings, and then there are the rules. The first thing would be any task that is coming up, if you're trying to perform it. So if it is takes only 5 minutes, do it right now, immediately. Otherwise, if you try to schedule it with the calendar, it itself takes some time, right? You are again doing the switching task between the tasks because it might take to schedule and perform for that 5 minutes also. It's waste of the time or switching, and you would end up with frustration. So instead of that, if anything can be done within the lesser than 15 minutes to 5 minutes or something like that, you try to do it and immediately. And you need to also act on the second thing would be the second role which is important here, which would also play here. Anything coming up at least the 15 minutes it's going to take time, or it may be a time sensitive task, then you need to think with a proper schedule and proper timeline should be assigned within your calendar. So you might be working on your calendars, which we talked about, either a mobile phone based calendar or Google Calendar or work and personal life specific calendars, but some way you're gonna perform this activity for or giving that time slot for 15 minutes. Anything which is gonna take, you're gonna arrange the budget for that specific task and you will be working on it. So that way your calendar is a solid firm commitment you're giving on how you're gonna spend on the time on that specific task. In general, if you're processing properly, mostly everything will be done now or end up with your calendar. And the third one would be again the task reminding list. So this is where it comes into the reminding, like if you have already set a calendar, like the first one is we are trying to perform it on immediate basis. The second one would be we are trying to schedule it, but what happens if you missed out or you need some more time? You need to either snooze it or you might have to extend some more time. So the important point would be here reminding that list. So that specific task, if at all you missed out or you couldn't complete it within time, you have to reschedule with the reminders. That way you are tracking that specific task without missing out. And other bonus tip would be within the specific to the reminding list, like you need to group up the things, like say you want to pay electricity bill, or maybe you want to pay for internet bill or mobile phone bill. So if I take as example as the paying bills, so you need to consolidate that all into one specific day or specific calendar day which can be accommodated, so that you can grouply perform that task so that more efficiently you can perform and without stress free, in fact. So just try with that kind of group repetitive task so that you can work on that specific task properly. And the last one, but very useful without getting stressed, like if you have scheduled any of the meeting, you make sure that you need to have at least a 10 minutes gap between your meetings, because these meetings are time sensitive. So you need to refresh yourself, you need to engage within the meeting, you need to document, you need to take the action points, all that from one meeting to another meeting, and you need to even conclude that specific meeting. So you need to have at least 1 hour. If it is a 1 hour meeting, at least a 10 minutes gap should be there. So don't be overload without any additional work. So if you have the 2 hours meeting, that means you need to have at least 20 minutes meeting. So in the summary, any of the specific question which is coming, like as a when it to be done, you need to be actually choosing that specific task. Try to perform within 5 minutes time if it is taking, or lesser than that. Otherwise, calendar it within your budget. Anything is taking 15 minutes, you have to go for the calendar budgeting, because those tasks are more time sensitive. Or you need to go for task reminders for everything else, and group task can be performed as a grouping all at once, similar tasks. And leave a space between your appointments, like as I said, at least 10 minutes for each of the meeting. That would actually helps you. And that concludes the second question of when it will be done, and the last one which we're going to learn in the next lecture.